Seems legit.
Hello my legitimates and welcome back to my channel. Today we are finally using the laser for the originally intended purpose that I got it for right before I got distracted, and that is making bag tags. So I've got a couple of different samples here of ones that I've made. Obviously we're all very excited that I can now get these done. Look at how dark that is. I'm so very happy about that. So this one is done with the infrared laser, but all these other ones can be done with either the infrared or just the normal one. Now this is obviously very dark because I used a dark brown, but this is a leather tag that you could sew on, and you could use any color leather. This is just a piece that I had, and these ones are coated aluminium, so you can just like remove the coating and then get your logo. This one I didn't line up very well, but that's okay. I would actually probably, if I was gonna do more of these round ones, I'd actually remove my circle like I did with these other ones and then just have the words to make them a little bit bigger. But if you wanna see how to make all of these, please stay tuned. All right, so I'm gonna do a voiceover and I'm gonna show you how I do it in Lightburn. So we go to import and then click your image and it should come up anywhere on the screen, doesn't matter. Now we're gonna right click and click trace image. Now this bottom bar, you can get more or less detail by moving it up and down. And I always like to delete the image afterwards. So we click OK, and then we're left with this outline. So I'm gonna go to a fill because I know that that's a button. And then we also need to add a square around it. So this will be the cut line. So I'm going to go to a cut line, which I've got it set up as 2. And then we're just going to change the size. So I'm making these tags 1-inch tags. You can obviously make them any size you want. 1¼ would also be nice. It just gives you that little bit more space. And then I am going to select and shrink this down. Now I'm holding the control key, and that way it doesn't alter the shape and make it more of an oval. And then that little target lines everything up perfectly in between. So now I'm just going to click off everything, click on the center one, hold my control key, and then just enlarging it slightly bigger, but I still want to have space to be able to put stitches around the edges without it getting in the way. Now I do 70% speed and 100% power for the filling in because you just want a light engraving. And then to cut it, I slow it down and I did 2 passes. It kept skipping over a corner, which you will see in a minute. But what do you do? So make sure you got your safety goggles on because I don't have the cover on so that you guys can see. And I've sped this up, obviously. So this is doing the engraving first. I always like to set it up to do engraving first and then cut it because it's less likely to move as a little piece, especially if you are using your air assist. I'm not using it today. It probably would have cut a bit better if I had have used it. Oh, that only did 1 cut. And you can see it didn't quite come out. You can actually also just set it. If you don't move it off the space, you can actually set it to do a second cut there as well. But it keeps skipping that bottom left corner. I'm not sure why it was doing it. I think I need to update all my stuff because it's been in storage for a while. So I should update everything and it should be fine. So I just did another 2 passes. Now I'm going to take a cloth and some rubbing alcohol that I got from Woolworths or Coles in the medical section. And you can't see because I forgot to move. But I'm just rubbing off all of that burnt, charredness. So you want to get it off the edges and off the top. So I just like to spray some on the actual cloth. This is just like a face washer. And then rub all of the edges to make sure that it won't blacken my fingers or whatever bag you're going to put it on. Nothing worse than making a bag, putting the tag on, and it wrecks it. And you can see there is quite a lot of burning coming off. So that's quite very, very dark right now. I'll leave that to dry. So now let's go on to our next one. So I just had to delete the edge and then I'm going to ungroup everything. Now, if I forgot to put it in, but if you had have just stopped here, you could do the blue tag that I did. But I'm actually going to separate this. So I'm going to draw a little rectangle here, just a very skinny little one. And then I'm going to click on my mouse button and put it on an angle. And this is going to separate these two parts for me. So I'm just making sure that I'm just separating the two. So I'm going to click on the big one and then, nope, so I did that wrong. So you got to click on the big one first and then the little one. So you see here, I'll click off everything, click on the big one, then the little one, and then use this little kind of corner bit to separate them. So now I've got it separate. So you have to right click again and go ungroup again because it's all just grouped in lots and lots of layers. And you've also got to make sure you click the little gaps in the letters to make sure that it moves everything for you. So you can see here, I'm just going to kind of line them up where I feel it needs to go. If you have the font of your logo and you designed it yourself, you can just install the logo and just type it out normally. I do have it, but I do want to teach you this, so that's why we're doing it this way. So then we'll leave the settings at that to do the anodized stuff. So here's the blue one. I just didn't do the computer work for that. As you can see, it goes bottom to top because that's the way I've set it up. But the next one that I'm going to do actually won't do it that way. So it comes up pretty well. I do still like to wipe it all with a cloth. So these ones have 2 holes for rivets. So I'm just lining it up here to make sure that it's working. And this one, because I ungrouped everything, it did it in groupings instead of the whole thing at once. But it still come out really, really cool. So again, with the wiping, and it comes out really clean. So now I'm just going to resize this for my next one, which is the fancy one with the spray that I have to put on. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a sec. And I have it on 3 millimeters a second and 100% power. So here we have the blank tag, and I'm outside because you don't spray things inside. This is actually all damp cardboard, which makes it very easy to stab into. And I'm just going to use my skirt to wipe my fingerprints off. You don't want any oils left on there. Now, this is a molybdenum spray. So it's actually, I actually had a lot of trouble finding it in Seymour. I actually got my dad to get it for me from Ballarat. But a molybdenum spray is what you're after. The word molybdenum has to be in it because that's what's going to make it black. So we need to just spray on a nice thick coat. You can see here I'm actually shaking it up to make sure it's good. Just spray it on. Be rough, be willy-nilly. It doesn't really matter so long as it's like even and relatively thick. So I've switched now to my infrared laser head. It won't work with a diode. I did try, it wasn't a thing. So we're lasering with so these are basically the silver and gold settings for the infrared. But we've also got the spray and it's going to make it nice and dark for us. I did speed this up. It does go very, very slowly at 3 millimeters per second. And as a general rule, I always just tend to leave it on 100% power and then change the speed of everything. So yeah, you can see here it's going back and forth. It doesn't take too long. All of these took under an hour to set up and do. This video is not very long. It's like 9.5 minutes, but they are pretty quick to do, and you can not sew them. You could put them in batches as well if you wanted to do a lot of them. I was just doing one of each to show you all the different ideas. You could also do dog tags and things because you could technically rivet a dog tag onto a bag if it was dog themed. But anyway, just another food for thought. So then after this, we're going to use the rubbing alcohol again to wipe off all of that stuff, basically. So you just wipe it on there and then it comes out and it's made it nice and dark and looks all shiny.